we are back. And hey, guys, before we get started, let's go ahead and do this betting. I have set up a betting. Is John drinking something that has a fruity flavor? So let's go ahead and start the betting on this. You can go ahead and start. So let him, that way he doesn't know it and see it. Your max bet is 100, min is 1. So you do exclamation point bet, space, yes or no, space, and how much you're going to put into it. And we will find out if John is actually drinking a fruity drink today. So we'll have to see. If you're new to the stream, congratulations. Welcome. We like seeing new people. Make sure you hit that follow and like. Today is my birthday, so we are definitely having a lot of fun. We're going to have some cake and eat it too. So go ahead and give me some betting on that. And we will see how everybody is doing. And I'm going to look at the betting. It may take a little bit to do it. I don't see anything coming up. So John is coming back, so let's kind of like not let him know, but he's going to know in a second. And relax, betting's not working. Actually type the number, not the word, guys. So it is exclamation point bet 0 or 1, and then how much you're gonna bet on this. If you win, of course, you will get some of your money back. If you lose, you lose. You like that, John? Oh. So don't say anything and don't tell anybody yet, because I don't even know if what he's drinking is a fruity drink or not. So
what John is drinking is a fruity drink?
Well, because I'm trying out the new betting system, and right now it is gonna be that you type exclamation point bet a number with a yes or no, and then how much. And if you win, you get money back. If you don't, of course you lose it, because it's just betting. It's something to do with our dice head, guys. We're going to leave this open for a little bit, and then we will shut it down.
Cake.
I have cake, too. I only got a piece of it. John's got a whole cake.
It's a piece of cake.
Oh, it looks like a whole cake from my area.
It's just made circular.
Oh, it just makes circular?
I mean, come on. It's no bigger than my hobby streak. Actually, it's almost the exact same size as my hobby streak emblem.
Oh, okay. That's actually not bad. It's not huge.
It's actually kind of huge.
So, guys, if you ever know, yes, it is my birthday, and today we will be giving away my miniature I painted.
Yay!
It's the same size as the base of one of these armatures.
That's fine. That's fine, John.
And
own that cake.
Our topic for today is RPG. Since Kathy didn't get to be part of the RPG, we're going to do RPGs, and we're going to talk about our favorites, how to keep them going, when to end them, and of course we have our media section. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and end the betting, so no one can get on this. And we're going to stop it and see how this works.
Does that cake take mortal wounds? No, Legionnaires, this cake has feel no pain versus mortal wounds.
So, Kathy, what are you having to drink today?
I'm finishing up the this bottle that my dad left with Coke.
Okay.
And of course, coffee.
Of course, coffee. Okay. And I am actually going to be drinking some Cabernet Sauvignon from Kendall Jackson. I love me some cab. With my cake
with
today.
Steak.
I had it with steak last night, so I'm having cake today. So, John, we did a bet. And the bet was, some people said, I have 2 people that said, no, you're not drinking a drink that has a fruity flavor or taste to it. What are you drinking tonight?
Like apple or cherry.
Or anything like that.
Why would you bet no on that?
I
Uh,
wouldn't bet no on that.
well, Norin brought me an entire bottle of 43 vanilla liqueur as a preemptive apology in case he did something stupid, which worried me horribly, but ended up being okay. So I mixed that with some orange juice for what basically tastes like an orange Julius.
So, is that a fruity drink?
Oh fuck yeah, it's orange juice for fuck's sake.
So, everybody that voted yes got points, and I can see that it is nobody.
Let me hedge
These
your bets on that
people
one,
not
guys.
Listen
Bet
to this
yes.
podcast.
John usually always drinks something
Fruity
fruity.
whiskeys are my thing.
Yeah.
I almost brought the thing of leftover peach whiskey, but I was out of hands.
Also, guys, I'm going to go and open up the poll. We're looking for our next topic for State of the Game. And you can vote on this and tell us what you want, and we will take whatever's the highest and go with it. And we'll go and start that up. Same
Oh, yeah,
thing.
and except you don't spend points on this. Or
Correct. No points are spent, so you don't have to worry about it. It doesn't cost you anything. We just want to know. It's just a poll for us to find out what y'all want to hear about. And also, we are going to open up the giveaway.
Giveaway.
The thing is to do this one, it is exclamation point raffle. Space, how many dice heads you're gonna spend, and you get one raffle ticket per 50, so you can go ahead and get whatever you want. I'll go and start that and let that keep going, and we'll know where it's at.
So do that in multiples of 50.
Yes. So if you want one ticket and you have 50 points, of course it's one.
It's exclamation raffle, and it's how many tickets, not how many points.
Correct. How many tickets? So if you have 200, how many raffle tickets can you get?
4. That's math.
So exclamation point raffle space 4. Other than that,
The prize is Colby, the mechanic from the Black River regulars.
yes, it is a mercenary model. It is the special PP version that you can only get it like lock and load or given to
You
you.
said PP.
Or lock and load. I said PP. I'll show it better when we get to the paint cam. Guys, we're also trying to upgrade some equipment. Kathy needs a new camera and a small green screen that we're trying to work towards. So any donations are highly welcome. Also, if you are a patron subscriber, be on the lookout. If you're $5 or higher, Kathy will be emailing you to find out a day that y'all can do your Google Hangout.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Oh yeah, and Congo, don't do raffle 50. You don't have points. Do raffle 1.
If you only have 50
Ahaha,
points.
Crimson. Yes, Colby Sterling. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
Colby Sterling. It's the special edition from Lock and Load.
I've been waiting too long. So
With the
Ron.
wrench.
Oh, yes. Let's go ahead and give her our drink. Guys,
Oh my,
Hooray.
that is good. Oh,
oh, that's some good wine.
oof.
Ooh. Anybody is allowed to go in on this raffle. It's for everybody. If you do win, please make sure you send us your address. And you know what? I'm going to take a bite of my cake. I'm having a vanilla cake with, of course, buttercream frosting because that is the only frosting that should be on a cake.
Oh, I gotta get mine open.
You picked the best.
Holy crap!
good.
It's coming apart a little bit at the top here.
Cake? Is this surgery?
I had to unwrap it.
Everybody, Congo, what you do is you type exclamation point raffle and how many raffle tickets. One raffle ticket costs 50 points, so just know what your dice odds are. Let's go and switch up to the paint cam. We're going to switch over to something different.
And I have Boston cream cake.
Ooh, yummy.
The poll is still going, so just keep going. I'll stop it at the end of the show so we can figure it out. And where giveaway is working, and multiples are there, guys. Good job. Thank you for helping us work this out and sticking with us on that. And that'll come through every once in a while. So let's go to my paint cam.
This is,
Is that really, really good
Yeah,
cake?
so,
oh my god! Don't
This is
expect
the
me
model.
talking much.
well then Gonzo can tell us what he's painting and show us his model he's giving away.
Here's my Colby model that I'm going to be giving away. It's the special edition from like Lock and Load or something like that. I got it gifted to me for volunteering at War Machine Weekend. Did a little water base with her and a cork base and little water effects and everything. I mean, I'm not an awesome painter, but I thought it turned out pretty dang good. We're going to finish up today. My Treeman Ancient is almost done. I've already done pretty much everything on him except for his head. So everything's done. Snow's on him. Snow's on the base. Base is finished. Just got to finish the head and then paint it.
Gonzo, in honor of Father's Day, would you say you're a little behind in painting and you need to get ahead?
I need to get ahead. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. So that's going to be there.
All the puns are funny today.
Oh, I'll put that thing aside or I'm just going to devour the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not that that's a bad thing.
Also, we kind of did the stream up a little bit different, guys. If you notice, we've got our giveaway and our followers. We want to really reach 200 followers by the end of the month. Not impossible, but it kind of helped us. And anytime we reach one of those two goals, $50 donated or 200 followers, we will give a giveaway. The first giveaway I will be giving away is an Extreme Behemoth.
Oh, shit.
Oh, cool.
Stream it.
So, if we reach either one of those two goals, we will definitely be giving that away. I got some other stuff too, but that's what we'll be giving away.
Waiting for the podcast to catch up because we got other things we got to talk about.
Yep. So, what is our subject today, John?
Well, before that, we should probably remind people that if you want to subscribe to us on Twitch, that has to happen every month. Twitch doesn't send you reminders, doesn't auto up your subscription. You just have to do that every month. So, like if you have a Twitch Prime account from Amazon Prime or whatever, just jump in and give us a sub. I assume something should show up, but I just used mine and nothing showed up, so I don't know what's going on.
It may take a minute or two. I've noticed that happen before.
Fair
Also, someone go and give a shout out to Metalhead Minis, or my big old friend Lynn right there.
Oh, hell yeah.
She's so awesome.
Done. Love you, sweetie.
There you go.
And so we can say that. Yeah, I just found out that we also have a room set up for moderators and subscribers that we'll give you out special information to. I'm gonna take this last bite of this cake really big.
This is the birthday episode. For those who weren't here for the pre-ramble, it's Gonzo's birthday, and so cake is being eaten, but not by me.
Why didn't you get cake?
You couldn't eat it and have it too.
I had meat cake. Does that count?
Meat cake? What is meat cake?
Steak.
Oh, steak? Okay. Alright, so, yes, I definitely need to finish off the head today, because I want to finish this model off. Of course, the poll is still open, and the giveaway is still open. Other than that, we're going to talk about something really cool. RPGs.
Yeah, I like RPGs.
Kathy wasn't here when we did our original one, so I figured as my birthday gift to her, I would give RPGs, because I love talking about RPGs. So, we will talk about our favorite ones, but I think for us right now, we need to talk about campaigns. And I think, how do you keep a campaign going? Because there is a thing called burnout.
Well, really, you got to start even before that. You're sort of jumping into the second part, is when you're the game master running the game and you throw your elevator pitch at them, you should let them know if this is going to be a sort of sandboxy campaign where they're going to do whatever, or if this is a set, I have an endpoint in mind for this campaign. That way they know what to expect.
Okay.
Because obviously if it's a campaign where you have an endpoint in mind, knowing when to end it is pretty easily, because if you get to that endpoint, you should end it.
Yeah.
That's not to say you might need to end it beforehand, people aren't interested, what have you, but you should definitely start there with the proper expectations of what you're doing.
Okay.
Now, pretty much everything I do that's not a one shot is sandbox. We're going to play until we decide we are done with this, or we need to move on because something else has caught our interest.
Okay.
I said I wasn't going to talk. I was going to get cake, and here I am talking all the time. Um, so that's a good start. Knowing when to stop it. I mean, you can see the warning signs in people where they're just not interested. They'll start missing sessions. Um, Maybe they'll start talking more and more about, well, change my character. I'll change my character again. When that stuff starts to happen, then you definitely need to be looking for a good, if not ending point, a good stopping point. I actually suggest looking for an ending point rather than a stopping point because it is exceedingly difficult to come back to a game once you've stopped.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I agree on that.
You can. I have had it happen multiple times where we've come back to games and maybe one or two people need to change their characters, but everyone else is good to jump right back in. I had one superhero game where it sort of we stopped it on after they had averted an alien invasion. It was a whole big thing. They convinced one of the NPC villains to help them out. Sort of like sort of like a less violent Deadpool named Foxbat. He helped them out with the Foxbat shuttle. But as they get done, driving off the enemies, they find they're on the other side of the solar system, and they have a long flight back. So we actually stopped the campaign on that and did some other stuff for a while. But then we were able to come back right as we left off with them coming back to Earth at a certain point. But that doesn't always happen. About other games we've tried to come back to just haven't worked. So have that in mind when you're thinking of it. Think of an endpoint. But even if you are thinking of an endpoint, try not to be that, super final battle where, half the PCs die or whatever, because you may find you want to come back to it. There's something about familiarity with a game, Especially if you had elevator pitched it as a sandbox game, be more willing to keep it open at the end. Now, if you pitched it as, this is going to be, I have a set endpoint, and you have to end before that endpoint, try to make it more of something you can come back to. All right, someone else needs to talk.
Kathy,
So I've never run a game.
okay, but let's hear from the player's perspective. What do you think you should do to keep a campaign going? I mean, have you ever played a game and you're just like, yeah, this is not going anywhere. I'm not having any fun.
Well, yeah, those are the ones that last for 3 days. When I was, in the early 90s, when I was playing, my community college had a club, and sometimes we would all get together in a gigantic game, and occasionally we'd split off into two different groups and play two different games. But if it wasn't going anywhere, you knew because, half the people wouldn't show up, like John says, and somebody else is begging to run a different game because we were playing all kinds of different RPGs. It wasn't just D&D or Rifts or Deadlands or something. There was a ton of different games being played. There were many times where we spent an entire afternoon creating our characters for one game, only to play it twice and then move on to something else.
And spend the next afternoon making new characters. Yeah.
And we all know that it depends on who the GM is, and whether the players are going to respect that person.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's also more than that. As a player, you don't have to be the GM, but you can be the right hand and keep people focused and keep people respecting the GM, to at least give them a proper chance to play. When I get a chance to play, which is really, really, really rarely,
yep,
I tend to fall into that because I really want to make sure that we get a chance to play. So you don't you stop all that stuff that can derail a game. Too many rules questions, too much challenging the GM. Like, no, don't challenge the GM.
That's
He
kind
says
of
it
my
works
role.
that way.
That's kind of my role in our Monday night D&D. We have one person that does kind of get bogged down in the rules. We have one person who is very, very pedantic when he's trying to make a decision about anything. So while I try to, make sure that he has his say once he actually does decide what he wants to do,
Hmm.
I'm still trying to move the story along so we actually get something accomplished.
Done.
And
Yeah.
then the guy next to me, he's like my dad's age. He's been playing since before it was D&D.
Wow.
Like Gen Con
Chainmail.
1, this guy he's seen it all. And so he'll always be like, all right, let's go, let's go. Anytime there's a rule question, he's like, fog of war, let's move on.
That means something different to my group. Fog of War is what we yell at when it's probably gonna be friendly fire.
Well,
Fog of War!
oddly enough, it has many different meanings, and now it's kind of an inside joke for us. Anytime anything unexpected happens or anything, you just fog of war.
You can tell
Yeah,
Bane is one of my
move on.
local.
Anytime there's a rule question, it's like, the one guy I was talking about, who's always getting bogged down in rules, and Jack's fog of war. And so when Jack's not there, now I do
You
that.
get to yell Fog of War, yeah. So let's throw a couple questions in here, intermixed with our talk here. So Legionnaire goes, how do you pick your RPG that you play? What game system to play?
That's when you got to discuss as a group, in my opinion.
Well, kind of, but
fantasy? Is it sci-fi? Is it Weird West?
well, I would say it's actually easier than that because whoever's running the game should come to the group with like a movie, like someone wanting to make a movie with an elevator pitch.
Yeah.
Like, I want to make a movie that's I want to make a game that's a crossover of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Mad Max. And that's called Roadhogs. They already have it, but
Yes.
and if they're in, they're in. If they're not, like, then like, all right, let's think of something else to do. And generally, you don't do that on game nights. You do that outside of game nights. Hell, social media has made this all so much easier.
Yes.
You just chat with everyone, like, this is our ideas. What do you think? And throw your idea out. So picking your game system should be the system works with what you want to do. Sometimes people are like, I just want to play D&D. So, okay, sure, you just want to play D&D, so you want to play fantasy because that's what D&D does. There's certain games that are easy for it, but there's some, well, I want to play GURPS. Well, shit, that didn't tell me a damn thing. Except that you want to play a generic universal role-playing system.
Yes.
Because that's what GURPS is. You're better off having, in that case, you're better off having an elevator pitch. But you can be like, there's lots of different fantasy you can play. Like, I want to play D&D, but I want to play, like Lord of the Rings, or I want to play, like, Forgotten Realms. Forgotten Realms, like, oh, you're tripping over artifacts and archmages everywhere you go. And
Oh yeah.
Lord of the Rings, you're like, you've had an artifact for 3 years, you didn't even know it.
And see, whenever I'm pitching a new game to somebody, I'm like, hey, I really want to play sci-fi, and I found this system for sci-fi that I really like. I like the Fantasy Flight's, Force and Destiny rules. And I'm like,
those rules are so good.
yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of how I do it. And especially if I find a new system and I'm like, hey guys, I found this new system. Let's do a one-off, see if we like the system. And if it is, we'll just continue going from there. Let's do, a module, if anybody remembers that. And that's how I usually go about with it with my friends. And I'm just like, and needless to say, most of my friends are online now that I play it. Because whenever I wanted to run a game, I went online and did a poll and says, hey, I want to run these 2 games. Who wants to join me in it? And it'll be online during the, Skype that we do on Wednesdays and blah, 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 blah. We stream it. And I had actually quite a few people that were very interested in it. And then came up to the point of getting a schedule. And then that's where it kind of changed a bit.
Yeah, that's when it always does. I
Yeah.
mean, that's even more so with an in-person game, which I play. I mean, like,
Yeah.
Are you available on Saturdays? No? Well, I'm sorry. That's what we play.
Yeah.
Every other Saturday. So.
We are almost everybody always shows up on any given Monday. The one guy was excused for a month and a half or so when his house caught fire.
That's
Because exactly. And when the other guy had open heart surgery, good excuse.
It's a really good excuse. Yeah.
can't drive, you know. So
Yeah,
and when he felt strong enough, he had somebody else drive him there.
and
It's a committed group.
it's good to note that some people don't necessarily get this anymore, but being in a role playing game is a little bit of a commitment. He's not even as a player,
Oh yeah.
more so as a GM, but as a
Absolutely.
player, because I mean, to a point, other people are relying on you to show up to play.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you have a large enough group, like I've run when I was running stuff at the store and all, we would occasionally have groups like 9 people show up, and I'm like, yeah, so if half of you don't show up, I think we can still run. But it's difficult. You gotta. That's another thing we have to tell your game. That's another thing you've taken into account when you're making your elevator pitch. Maybe you want to make it purely one session is one episode, which is hard to do. But if you log a session, you make it right, you can do that, and then you run it like GI Joe or Mask or something, where it's like, oh, we've got the crew for this mission because they're uniquely qualified, either the ones that showed up, and they get to run it, and then boom. But you have to be ready for that. That's another thing you have to take into account when you're making your elevator pitch, when you're deciding what you're going to play.
I actually ran, and actually I was in a very important campaign where, if anybody remembers, Waterdeep, and the ruins of Undermountain. I know, old school going here. The ruins of Undermountain is a huge, huge dungeon, and what it was is our GM was like, all right, here's the campaign I want to do. You're allowed to have 5 characters, okay? And you play in a character tree. You have your main character, and then you have 4 supporting ones. And when your main one levels up, one of your other ones level up, but they all have to stay consistent. You can't just pour it all into one different character.
Sort of like the original Dark Sun rules.
Correct. And so what it was is we were hired to map Undermountain, and provide the map to someone else, and we got paid for it. We got paid every 10 feet or so, and we got to keep a certain amount of stuff, and we got hired. And so that way we could always go, all right, Joe didn't show up today, so we can still play. Or, if 3 people didn't go, we can still play, and we can go down and do this and still play the game. Of course, it all branched out, and of course, it got really crazy and really, fun and awesome. But that's something you want to tell people. Just different ways to play the game besides just everybody makes one character. Which I've done. I've done 0 level campaigns where you just name your guy. You don't even roll stats. You tell me what you're looking to do, and then you role play making your character. We had a guy that was a pugilist. He wanted to play a monk type, but there was no monks in the area, so he played a pugilist. And he kind of wondered why people had small bucklers on their hands to block stuff, so he started to use bucklers to punch people. And so he became a pugilist with bucklers on his fist.
Okay.
And then we were like, that's perfectly great. People started, well, I don't know Common. I know Elven, and that's it. And so we had to role play learning each other's language and stuff like that, which was a really great campaign. But I mean, you got to talk with your players, find out what they want. What do they want
Yeah.
to do? Do they want to play in a
Even
superhero game?
even if it's as basic as, do you guys want a lot of role playing like what you were just describing, Gonzo?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you just want to freaking kill things so that you can get experience, so that you can level up?
I'm not gonna lie, we didn't roll dice, I think, much at all. We rolled like a handful of dice last night for our entire, session of Sewer Bear.
But I mean, that's something you want to know. Are you? And the thing is are you going to have a bunch of people that are all going to Monty Hall it, or are you going to have people that want to role play? Are people going to want a good story?
Yeah, it's a good expectation. Also, with Champions games, my players should know. After an early point, I don't really give a shit about your character points or any of that. You should be like, I'm working on this. Okay, fine. You get better at that, or you need to spend more time before you get better at that, or I'm working on this contact. All right, well, work on that contact and role playing. You'll get that contact.
Yeah.
The characters, they can be interchangeable. They don't have to be. Some games are mechanically so tied to the characters you have to be super strict on that, but you can actually get around it in most of the games. But that's something you should be noting beforehand. Like Norin didn't realize that, and he keeps throwing me stuff like, I want to tweak this points and that points. I'm like, no, I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
Your character will have what he should have. That's good.
Well, I was like, the Force and Destiny that I do on Wednesday. Tim Banky is wanting to build his own lightsaber. I'm like, okay, well, this is a time when you just can't go buy all your stuff. But I'm like, we'll just see how it goes, and eventually you'll start getting your stuff. I'm not going to
Yeah.
hand it to you. There's just certain things that you can't just give away, but you don't want to go. I'm going to make you count for every single arrow you have.
Yeah.
Is he
Yeah.
gonna have catastrophic accidents while he figures out how to put his lightsaber together?
There is roles, and we've talked about that about him making the engineering roles. Luckily, his character is a pretty big computer engineer user, and is which if you haven't seen, guys, Jackie's been drawing a lot of cool pictures for our thing. So I've been reposting them up on our Facebook page. Jackie's an amazing artist. I didn't know what she was, but she's got a really cool character too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I mean,
I
that's
mean,
It's all expectations, making sure everyone knows, after you get the elevator pitch, what kind of game you're going to play. That way everyone comes in with the right idea.
yes.
Let's see. Copnick's Fatty Place says, I hope the new Cyberpunk 2077 will get my group interested in playing Cyberpunk 2020. That would be cool. Actually, it'd be a great time to re-release a new version of the Cyberpunk role-playing game.
Yes.
I'm not even sure who owns the license anymore. Is it still Aratalasorian? Who knows? I'm sure it's something I could research. I'm not going to right now. But, I mean, Cyberpunk has a place in my heart. I'm actually more of a Shadowrun guy myself.
yeah.
And they actually mentioned that later, how they like that Shadowrun, to a point, actually is better at getting people in and out of the game. Because you're all mercenaries hired to do something, and your guy might not be available.
Yep.
And that's a good game, but in that kind of game, you have to be extra special to know, like, all right, this is going to take approximately 3 sessions or so to get this run done. I need to be available for those 3 sessions, so that it doesn't screw too many things up. And as a GM, maybe you got to be good ways of getting people in and out of the game. Let's see. I want to get some more of these before they fall too far behind on the chat. Someone mentioned about episodic games. Just having an episode game doesn't necessarily make it easier to start and stop, because you lose the feel of the game sometimes. So you have to be careful with that. But again, it's another one you throw out there at the beginning. If you're like, we're going to be episodic, we're going to do, a couple sessions of this game, then we'll jump to another game. If you've got a group that can do that, by all means. But it'll still be fun, but you'll lose a little bit of the immersion from the game.
I need a glove.
So honestly, as adults, the way we play, not necessarily every week for everyone, also makes you lose some of the immersion of the game. So there's that. Let's see. Yeah, Xander Warlord, sometimes just picking the setting will pick the system.
Correct. There are some settings that are out there that are pretty common. Like if you're going to go for, if you're going to go for a cyberpunk type feel, you're going to drift
You're
towards...
limited to a handful of games.
Yeah.
You're stuck with Shadowrun, Cyberpunk, GURPS, or something else that has a more generic portion. But that's something to look for in a game. I mean, I don't necessarily look at role-playing games as much as I used to. I mean, I used to be a big buy a bundle role-playing game, read it, and see if I want to play it or not. But look for stuff that's a little universal that you can use for multiple things. It's very helpful.
I buy role-playing games all the time because anytime I go to a tournament and I win, like store credit for winning something, first thing I do is go to the role-play section and buy a role-playing game, whether I want it or not. Which I picked up the new Dresden Files Accelerated, which I will be doing a review on because it's based off the Fate system.
I had some fun. We played last summer. We tried playing Dresden Files. Now that's one where, with that particular group, it's a bunch of adults who just couldn't get together at the same time. This guy was trying to run the same game for 2 different groups of people, and our group was just not serious enough about it. Like, we couldn't commit to and it was only going to be once a month,
Mm-hmm.
and yet somehow now I can make a Monday night D&D every time, unless I'm not in the state, but this was a once a month thing, and that other particular group of people, no one could seem to pick a day where everybody could agree on it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we did play several games of it. It was difficult for me because I'm not so hot at the improv. stuff, and you're just like ad-libbing your skills basically
Yes.
in the fate system. So that was a big challenge for me because personally Kathy doesn't have the skill of, just extemporaneous, off the top of my head, I'm going to bluff my way through this blah blah blah, no.
Which, talking about that and going through it, there are some game systems that really you need to look at your group before you even think about it.
Mm-hmm.
The Fate system is one of those systems, and Carl Morgan and I were talking about this. We discussed that the Fate system is the GM system, and it's the Game Master system. You really want people that can improv and, you know, be creative with everything they do because that's what the system is based off of. I can let this dry
I
for a little bit.
do I do feel like I might have had a better idea about my character and the setting if I had known ahead of time that it was going to be St. Louis and not Chicago, because
Okay.
we're all from Chicago.
Uh-huh.
And so we're like, well, so Jim and I are talking about different landmarks and thinking about how we could incorporate them into a Dresden like universe that's not, I mean, that doesn't have really much to do with the books because that ostensibly takes place in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So our GM decided to set it in St. Louis, where we have no idea where anything is, what anything is, no clue. And then when we didn't follow the book on how to set up your some locations that are connected to the characters, or how each character is related through their background, through their backstory, we didn't set it up that way. And that was disappointing to me because I was reading through the rule book going, wow, this sounds like it'll be really fun. And this will be like role playing before we even start, the story, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, with that particular group of people, they didn't want to do it that way.
Uh,
So I felt like it just started off on a wrong foot for me. I feel like with the right group, I probably could do it.
yeah, absolutely.
The thing is you really need to talk to the group because if the group doesn't know what you're doing or the group doesn't follow what you're doing, because for example in my campaigns I always go, there's going to be an end, guys. I have a story I want to tell. I'm going to tell the story and this is where I want to go. There will be an end. Your characters aren't going to walk around, forever being the badasses and all that stuff. This is not what this game is about. There is an end game to it because I like to have in game concepts. I don't want, okay, we're raiding the 99th level of hell, and all I got to do is snap my fingers and I kill everybody within, 100-yard
Yeah.
radius. So, I tell all my players, I even tell them that, whenever y'all are doing something, y'all may be doing something and having fun, but the bad guys don't stop what they're doing. They're going to continue to do what they're doing. So if you decide to, once you figure out who the main antagonists are and stuff, and you decide you don't want to go against them, and go run off to go find a relic, they're not going to stop their evil deeds. There are
This sounds
consequences.
Mm-hmm.
this sounds so much like my Monday night group. I mean, I play every week, so everything reminds me of that apparently. It's very much a serial. There is a campaign, a larger campaign. Our entire world is being invaded by Ming the Merciless.
Yeah.
And so we've been to Mongo. We've somehow found our way back. There are rocket ships in our D&D game.
Oh yeah, why not?
Right, exactly. The world itself is not your traditional D&D world. It is one that our GM has been developing over the course of the entire amount of time he's been playing D&D, which is a long time.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so Ming invading world. We are at a bazaar on another plane shopping for flying carpets and, looking for a magic book because, meanwhile, we're supposed to be over here at this dwarven stronghold trying to infiltrate Ming's, his foothold on our planet where he's developing this big weapon in a mountain. It's very James Bond. And I'm like, maybe we should go back to this stronghold and try and, you
Do
know,
something, yeah.
save our
Well,
world.
well, as a GM, that's something you got to look at. Is if the players are off on some other non sequitur, you want to have consequences, but you don't want to make them too harsh. You want to sort of prod them
Correct.
like, well, this happened because you guys were off doing other things.
Yeah.
But you also give them like, all right, guys, you know that this is going to happen on this planet or in this area. What are you going to do? Well,
Yeah,
we can't do that planet. We got to go get this artifact to help us. And well, that planet got destroyed. Well, that's kind of what you have to go with.
yeah. That's what happens. I mean, if they need the artifact, they think they need it. They know what they need. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of things you could do there. Wow, what else could we talk about? So building characters is an important thing. There's so many games nowadays where you can just build your character. There points buy or whatever. You can come in with a character ready to go. But I feel like that takes something away from the character generation. And as a
The
game master,
uniqueness.
yeah, as a game master, I usually have my characters. My players may have character ideas, may have even full characters built, but they're gonna have to talk about all that in the game of how they're doing it.
I have to say, some of the most fun characters I've had is when you completely randomly roll everything up. Like, there's a table for what race you are, or a table for what class you are, what's your career, what, uh, like a whole list of different things. And I'm like, well, I'll just roll off on these tables. I don't care. I don't have any preconceived idea right now of what I want to do. So, oh,
It,
the dog.
the doggy come
Aw.
in. But yeah, and going with that, you really want to make sure that your players are willing to do that because I tend to notice that good role players, people that want to role play, don't mind doing that. But you don't want to force anybody into it because you could just turn someone off of the game
Oh,
completely.
absolutely. I mean, you offering a choice, do you want to roll everything up randomly or do you have an idea already? I mean, why
Yeah,
not both?
correct. Using my airbrush right now to dry off my model.
Yeah. So, but we do it all the time, and we actually people explain what their characters are, and they sort of form bonds, and okay, I get along with this character because of this. I don't get along with that character because of this. And so everyone starts off with a little bit of connection to people, and you sort of choose who it is. When we did Sewer Bear, most people were like, "Oh, I feel a connection with Mama Brown because she's an upstanding citizen in the area and helping people, so I get along with her. We've worked together a lot, stuff like that. It actually helps a lot. I stole it from a website. I don't know which one. It was years ago. I've done it for every campaign in the past, well, let's say decade and a half, and it really helps. But little things like that, help get your characters in. It builds connectiveness with them. That and also put a little work into the world. That's an important thing.
Yes,
No matter
especially if you're
what
not doing
world
a
you're using.
pre-made.
Yeah, if you're using a pre-made world, read some of the bits, incorporate some of the bits. The old Shadowrun was great with that. You just have the Seattle source book out, and you'd be like, I'm just going to choose names from there with descriptions, know what they are, so that they're like, oh, we're in this bar called the Hole in the Wall that's like this, this, and this, and use the same NPCs over and over again because it actually really helps make the world feel lived in.
Correct.
People actually get in there.
Yep.
Like,
So,
I use a lot of NPCs and I actually kill NPCs, because through no fault of the player sometimes just to further stuff, and they feel it because like, oh, this NPC's been helping us, just got cacked because of us.
Correct. Don't be
I
afraid of characters dying.
Hmm.
I absolutely loved when my brother was running Shadowrun. After every session, he would come out with a newspaper issue, and it would have headline articles, and sometimes the headline articles had to do with whatever run we were just on. And if we failed catastrophically, it would be like, and these are the people that we caught on video, you know,
Hmm.
and now they're wanted. Or if we succeeded spectacularly, then, such and such a, you know, company was infiltrated, things were stolen, nobody knows what happened. But he also had like classifieds, you
Hmm.
know, where you might be able to find equipment if you take the time to read it. You might be able to hire people. there was like just this whole little world. There were ads for, restaurants and stuff.
Oh yeah, that was a very Shadowrun thing because that was at the dawn of the internet, back in the sort of BBS age when you just post little things out there. That's very cool stuff. I found Shadowrun was one of the first games to come out and have enough style and built up quasi real world to get the best feel for it.
Yeah.
I mean, later I played Greyhawk with just old material. I'm like, okay, this one's also got enough, but it was the first one I encountered like that. And Brad's mentioning some of our stories from Shadowrun. We played a lot of Shadowrun back in the day, like silenced explosive ammo. They're hunting. They get attacked by Bandersnatch. They're in Elven lands, and they're like, what are you doing? You're shooting. The guy's like, oh no, I got silenced. Oh, okay, that's cool. Silenced ammo. Good thought, man. I like
Troll ninja.
troll. Well, we have had troll ninjas. We had a troll with bow and arrow and like all the muscle augmentation. He's like, my range is like this much. I'm like, you realize that's not sound anymore because you break the sound barrier with it. He literally.
Oh my god, I loved that game so much.
Yeah, I do enjoy Shadowrun. To be a little critical for a second, I feel like mechanically they've lost their way, but the core is still there. I do like how they took the Brave mold and instead of sticking with their old, outdated cyber decks and stuff, they've totally upgraded the entire way.
Well, I mean, you have to. At that point, those are antiques nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like a cyber deck that's like this big that you need to run the like, come on.
Yeah.
Do it on my phone for fuck's sake.
Right. Here's my Apple Watch,
But not all games are willing to come out of the past like that. Some are stuck in the past.
Correct.
Shots fired, D&D. Shots fired. But in any case, but yeah, so let's see. What else we talk about? Then it says a troll was hiding from Rent-A-Cop by pretending to be a tree, and it worked. We had a similar one where one troll said, I'm going to pretend to be a dumpster. The other troll wasn't paying attention. He just heard dumpsters like, I hide in the dumpster. So, there's a lot of games out there with a lot of good stories. I think Shadowrun had some of our best. So we've got some good champions ones too, but
I would if you ran Shadowrun, I'd play it in a dead second.
that was the so in the past, let's say 20 years ish, I've played, I don't know, let's say 15 years. I played about 2 role-playing games. They were Shadowrun and the Malifaux game, Through the Breach.
Yeah, I can go. I've played so many different games, read so many different games.
I'm the local GM, Gonzo.
So
I run the games.
But I consider that playing them.
No.
I run so many RPGs. I own probably a couple of 100 RPGs to begin with.
Oh, I used to be like that. I actually used to be the point where I'd buy every superhero RPG when it came out just to see if it was good or not. And then I realized that they just weren't good at that point. This is 90s, so there were not a lot of good things coming out then for superhero RPGs. So, but yeah, sometimes we talked about it earlier. Sometimes the game the game that we buy will push us towards wanting to play something. Used to be like that for role playing games. Sometimes you buy a role playing game, you just want to play it.
Mm-hmm.
But those you got to be careful because it's gonna be a test when you have to be prepared for that to crash and burn.
Yes.
Even I've had games crash and burns, and I'm a pretty prolific game master. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes you just gotta, pull the plug and move on. Look at the warning signs. All the players not really being interested. Them talking about other stuff at the table a lot. Missing a lot of games. When you start getting there, just stop and do something else. It's like we say with miniature games. It's not like you're going to find the one game to rule them all. Like even all the generic games, the hero system that Champions built off, the GURPS, all those, even those game systems have holes where they can do them, but someone else does it better. And you should always be on the lookout for doing it better. Because your goal for the rule set is the rules are supposed to meld with the game and not get in the way of the game. So when you start having it, that's what the Force and Destiny, the Star Wars rules, the FFG made. They pretty well work with the game better than most of the others.
Yes. It's a very solid system.
Problem is the only system they have it for is Star Wars.
Yeah.
I would pay good money for a superhero game based off that. I think that'd be perfect. It would be awesome. But anyways, God, what else can we talk about? We got another 15 minutes or so.
Well, let's also remind everybody that there is a giveaway going on right now. If you would like to be in it, there you do hashtag or exclamation point raffle, and then how many
The number of
tickets
tickets. Remember, tickets cost 50.
to spend your points. So I see a lot of people have been playing Heist and everything else, and you can still add more tickets to it. So,
Oh,
not a
and
big diff-
Gonzo had some question about our hit points.
Yeah, what it is our hit points are up there. Anytime we get a follow, a sub, which if you have an Amazon Prime account, you can subscribe to us for free, and you can do it every month. And that lowers it, and whoever lowers it gets their name up there, and then we get to take them down. It's just another little boss battle game that way we can get, just something fun. We find that people aren't doing it and not wanting to do it, we'll get rid of it. But other than that, we'll just do that. Let's talk about our favorite games. Everybody's always got this one favorite RPG that they'll play in a heartbeat. And Kathy said that Shadowrun is her I will do in a dead second.
So, let's just start. Will any of the three of us not do Shadowrun in a dead second?
Me.
Really?
And it's a system. I love the world. I would do Shadowrun if it was in the
Second or third edition?
no, none of the Shadowrun editions. If it was
what?
yeah, I like it better in what's the Savage World setting. There's
I was
another.
gonna say that would probably work well in a Fate system too.
Yeah, I like it better now. I love the world. Ooh, da, 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 da.
Oh,
Thanks, Jumpy Ender.
Thanks for the follow.
Um,
Okay, so that's fair. So if Kathy and I would jump in Shadowrun in a dead second, why don't you throw one at us, Gonzo?
Earthdawn in a heartbeat.
Oh, I played that back in early 90s.
Yes.
Obviously, it's not the same edition, but I loved it. I had a lizard person. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I played Earthdawn a little. I played a campaign of Earthdawn. It was okay. I prefer Shadowrun, but that's sort of more of. So.
You mean Earthdawn in the future?
Well, Earthdawn. I played Earthdawn for a bit, but yeah, Earthdawn in the future. Yeah.
Shadowrun's Earthdawn in the future.
The real reason.
Stormbringer.
What is it? Stormbringer? No, we owned the book, but we just played D&D instead.
Oh, that's fun. No, Stormbringer was kind of like that. Reminded me of Earthdawn too, just with all the different races and everything.
Yeah, Earthdawn always, or Stormbringer sort of reminded me of one of those it's a trap games. And by what I mean by that is there are certain games you want to play or campaigns. It's more of campaigns where there's so much written for it. There's books and everything. It is difficult to play them and feel like you're impacting the world. My two biggest trap games, Gonzo will laugh at one because it's Star Wars, but it's like Rebellion era Star Wars. There are some stories to be told, but you can't do too much because what happens up to a certain point between Death Stars, that's all written. You go post Death Star, sure, there's plenty to do there, but the other big trap one is Dragonlance. It is the biggest trap.
And it's such a great world.
I love Dragonlance world. It's low magic, but it does it well. It feels like in a game it'd be balanced as hell.
It is.
But in D&D it's not, because D&D's balanced around other things, and it's impossible to do anything of consequence in that world because the heroes of the lands take care of most of it. And if it was something like, how did this happen? Well, they wrote a book on it because they wrote books.
I still miss playing Warhammer Fantasy role playing.
Thanks, Griffin Roos.
That was back in the early 90s, way back.
Oh, yeah. Well, they made a newer version when they were with FFG, and then, of course, not anymore.
Well, now there's PDFs of the old stuff out there on the interwebs for free. But I enjoyed that game because there were so many different careers that you could choose from. You weren't just a fighter or a thief or I was going to say cavalier. Anyways.
Xander, if you would like a copy of Earthdawn, I do have a free copy available to give to somebody of the newest edition.
Oh, wow.
That's swell.
So a game that I would, aside from Hammer, that would absolutely play in a heartbeat would be, I'll say Champions, but I really mean just about any solid superhero game. It has been a long, long time since I got to play a superhero game and run them for a while. I would love to,
I
but
haven't played anything superhero since maybe 1990. We
I
played Champions, we played Villains and Vigilantes.
well, back in 1990, neither one of those systems were exceptionally good, but they were 1990 probably the only. Well, no, Marvel superheroes was still around back then. The old
oh yeah.
Marvel game that I played for the Adventures of Space Bear one-off. Those were still around back then. But yeah, I mean, there wasn't a lot of games. Actually, I own Marvel Superheroes, Heroes and Heroines, which was another game they put out, was absolute shite. I own a million Champions books. I own DC Heroes, two different versions of that, three different versions of that, something like that. But I keep going back to Champions because it does everything. I mean, technically, back in the heyday of my doing Champions, there was when Space Hero came out, one of the guys on the Hero Games boards like, I'm doing a Space Hero or a Star Hero fandom page, and I just want Star Hero stuff. And he like had seen some of the stuff I post on the website. He's like, hey, can I yoink all your Robotech stuff to put it on there? I'm like, sure. I just found Robotech stuff and made it all work in Champions. Just the system does that.
See Bane that's asking Mistborn. Yes, they did do a Mistborn RPG. I own a copy of it. It's not bad, but it also leads to the trap that John's talking about. Everybody wants to play. Everybody wants to be that character.
Yeah.
So, what about the games that are just homebrew? Just a game that you invented? Because I've had several people that I know just like invent a game because they wanted something that wasn't going to be a trap. They wanted something where other people haven't already read the module.
Well, you're talking about worlds, not games, obviously. Worlds, not systems.
Right,
yeah.
right. Like my D&D that I play is this guy's world. It's not a Dragonlance. It's not Forgotten Realms. It's not Greyhawk. It's his own world that Ming is invading.
I have pages upon pages of stuff from a world I made up, based off there was back in 3.5. Wizards of the Coast had put out all these free adventures on their webpage and all that. I downloaded one of them, read a little bit of it, and something in it clicked, and I'm like, I'm basing it off of this thing. So I have a whole world where the whole premise is up until recently, there were such terrible storms that would show up without warning that you really couldn't travel too far. And you can't get more than a day away. You get out in the wilderness, stuck in a storm, you're dead.
Yeah.
And they finally cleared up, and I've run people through a couple of those. I've got a whole backstory of why it happened and everything. But
those are interesting.
Absolutely. Well, it's that whole world thing. You have to get to a certain amount of stuff built so it feels like a real world. It's tough though because there's no guidelines. There's no you have to get to X amount of content. No, it's a feel. When you feel like you got the right amount, you should run it. Add things. If you're young and you're still doing multiple role-playing games in a week, I remember those days. If you're running the same system, have them take place separately, but have them hear about each other. That will go a long way. Like when we were doing multiple Shadowrun games a week, players would hear about things from other groups. So it felt like a world. It felt like they're all living in the same world.
When I was in high school, I had a couple friends who invented their own RPG, and it was Earth, but there was alien invasion, and so you could be just human, and they were different races. I had a dwarf. He was an old crotchety guy who liked to knit, and he had a special ability. Everybody has a special ability. So my special ability was on a certain roll of the dice. If I kick something and swear, it will start working.
So it's the Warhammer 40K. You have to use the Holy Litany. Goddamn piece of shit.
Exactly. But it was just stuff like that. Where you just invented the whole. I mean, everything.
Well, also don't be afraid to take a game and add stuff to it. I had a D&D game in 4th edition where I said, okay, you're all basically the children of God. So choose what your godlike power is. And I
Oh.
went around the table so I went around. So go this way, choose your power. Then we're gonna go this way, and you'll choose what your class is. And we believe a lot in something we'll talk about called shtick preservation. That could probably be an entire subtopic for a thing, but let's just say that it's where you basically, if Kathy's playing the healer, no one else steps on her toes. You can do healing, but that's not going to be your thing because that's Kathy's thing. You don't take her shtick. But so they went around, and the guy who chose super strength did it so early that he didn't get to be the barbarian because the guy over here took the barbarian with his lightning powers, and he got back to him, and he was something else.
Huh.
It was very cool, but don't hesitate to do stuff like that. I've run games where people started with blank character sheets and no idea what they were doing, no idea what their character was at all, and would fill in stuff as it happened.
See, that sounds like fun to me.
But
also, if there's a world or a system or anything that you're looking for, ask around because there is probably someone that's made it up, and you can see if it
Also-
actually works for you.
or ask random people for help. Like,
Yes.
if you're like, oh, hey, John, I hear you like champions. I want to make something of X and champions. I will help you. I mean, shit. We're all in this together.
Oh, yeah.
And if there's a certain world, a certain system that you're playing, but you would really love to have this monster from, some other system, like werewolves. You want werewolves in Star Wars. You know what? You're the DM.
The fucking werewolves in
Make
Star Wars.
some. Yeah.
Or I ran an entire D&D game in that same world where there's no dragons. There's a reason there's no dragons. There's no dragons. Though, to be fair, because 4th edition, they fought tons and tons of dragons. I just filed the serial numbers off. Like, oh, it doesn't have wings, range, doesn't look like a dragon. If it doesn't look like a dragon, doesn't behave like a dragon, no one's going to think it's a dragon, even if the rules used for a fucking dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter. Just file the serial numbers off. All those...
Favorite RPG monster of all time, Crimson 1919 is asking. Froghemoth, he says.
Froghemoth, wow. God, I don't know. I don't really like any of the monsters. They were all just baddies.
Werewolves.
Get the Yankees.
I was just thinking that. Oh my
I
god,
love
that's
Get the
like
Yankees.
I fucking hate Get the Yankees.
the cover of Fiend Folio.
Woo! Thanks for the bits, Vengeance. I appreciate it.
I absolutely get
Thanks
the
for the
Yankees. It's right
celebration.
in the top of my head. The thing with the crazy, I just remember these elbow testicle things that I had no idea what was going on with the artwork for the Get the Yankee, but I'm like, what's he got all these testicles hanging off him everywhere? And I was 11 at that time, and that's what I was thinking. So, God knows.
Yeah, it was Get the Yankee came out when I was in. We got the Fiend Folio, and everyone was like, "I want to be the Get the Yankee," and I'm like, It became such.
Yeah.
It was like 10 years late, 5-10 years later, when everyone wanted to be a fucking drow.
Of course.
And you roll your eye again. Like, I'm a drow, but I'm too good for my people. Like, yes, of course you are.
Before we get too
This sort
far,
of thing.
because the media
What's that?
section is coming up, let's go ahead and let's go ahead and make sure everybody do the giveaway. If you would like to be part of the giveaway, it is almost up. We only have a few more minutes. Make sure that you type !raffle space, and then how many tickets you're willing to buy. It is 50 dice for a ticket.
And exclamation point dice to see how many dice sets you have.
Correct. So let's make sure we do that before we get a little too far, and especially anybody new. What came out. So Vengeance, since you came in, if you would like to get part of that raffle, I am giving away a miniature I painted myself as my birthday. The Colby special edition from PP.
Vengeance doesn't have enough dice sets.
Vengeance,
It should have been here for the
where you
heist.
been?
Yeah, because it costs 50 per, but oh well. You can do heist when you see the guys do the heist, jump in the heist. That's how you get more dice heads also.
Yeah, you can also wager your dice around and see how much you can get. So, like I said, especially if you want to choose any role-playing game, if you're looking for something particular, and Bane, I will get you a urban fantasy system just like Dresden. Give me a minute, and after the show, I will send you a file because I have plenty of that stuff. I own, like I said, over 200 types of RPGs, and especially a bunch in PDF. So,
Oh yeah, that's another good thing. The last minute thing is check out Drive Through RPG. They do a lot of deals on PDFs where they're only a couple bucks. See if they have it there. Subscribe to their thing. They'll show you what deal they have for the day. Sure, you may just delete it, but it also may be something you want.
Correct.
Hi, puppers.
It's a dog.
It is. It's more like a small horse.
So with that, it is 8 o'clock. Let's go ahead and we will close the giveaway since it's done. And Xander, you can go ahead with his question that...
Your favorite race you have ever been is Xander's question. What is your favorite race that you've ever been?
An ogre. I was an ogre barbarian called Bob the Bodacious Ogre Barbarian. I had an intelligence of 4, and I role-played the crap out of it.
An elf. I had an elf ranger that I still know everything about that guy from here on out. I played that elf ranger for many, many, many years. So, yeah, an elf. Kathy.
I will take Bob for a couple questions.
Before vampire was a thing, when my brother was running Warhammer Fantasy Battle, he let me be a vampire, but everybody just thought I was a human, and I let everybody think I was a human, and so they felt tired once in a while. And occasionally I could, suddenly succeed at something once in a while.
Vengeance, we appreciate it.
Improbable.
Thank you for the subscription, Vengeance. Also, guys, if you did give us your free Amazon Prime account, you will have to re-up it every month unless you do more than 1 month at a time. And you will get special emotes from us for being subscribers.
Yeah, and the Amazon Prime doesn't let you do more than 1 month at a time.
Correct. And actually, you have to redo it, which we appreciate.
You have to re-prime every month, yeah. So we'll remind you guys towards the beginning of the month and all. It's all good.
So, other than that, let's go ahead and close this giveaway and see who's going to win it.
It's the media section.
Because it's the media section. All right, guys. It is closed. No more entries.
Hey, Kathy, did you watch those videos I shared?
The comic ones?
The comic movie ones, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right, guys. Here we go. The winner of the mini painted by Gonzo is Crimson 1919.
Yay! Congrats, Crimson.
Crimson, make sure you send me your address, and I will resend that out to you, and get that to you as soon as possible.
Well, yes, Andrew, you and Crimson 19 are here all the time. You guys see, you get a lot of the dice heads. You can put a lot in there.
The more you watch, the better it is, guys.
We appreciate you being here.
100%, guys. We're going to be doing a lot more stuff. Like I says, everything that y'all give us, either it's from here or from our Patreon, goes back to helping the stream, helping us be a better podcast. Let us go do things. Let us buy things. We are now looking for new cameras.
Yes,
for
the
Kathy?
palette cam for my stream, so that when I'm talking about my paint colors that I'm mixing up on the palette, people can actually see what I'm talking about.
And actually, Gonzo mentioned potentially me doing some streams of Hobby Streak when I get to my new place.
That'd be cool.
Thank you, Crimson. I will get that to you as soon as I can. And you will get the special edition foil card that comes with it. Let's go ahead and switch over to the media section.
It comes with a card? That's super rare. They don't come with cards anymore.
No, and it's actually a
Does it come
hologram
with
card.
gum?
Hashtag shots fired.
It actually is a holo card. All right. Switching over to media section. And this is something else we're going to need to do is I need to switch up and make a different media screen. I don't like this one anymore.
We can change it up once in a while, yeah. That's fine.
Yeah.
Well, I'm making a new
media
one.
section brought to us by Tectonic Craft Studios and Archidan.
Yay.
If you want, I can throw a graphic. Just give me an idea of what kind of schematic you want.
Go for it. Do whatever. You know.
Heck, one of these movies has already had a sequel.
Yep.
The other one I want a sequel for, but I'm probably not going to get it.
No, probably not a good one.
Come on. How hard is it to make a... Oh, actually, it is really hard because Fury Road took forever to make.
Yeah.
Not really his fault. He went to the desert and it was all flowery. I hear that kind of puts a hamper to your plan to make a nice desert post-apocalyptic car movie when there's flowers everywhere.
What?
Yeah, I know, right?
All right. So who's got our media section? I have what,
Well,
four
I think we
things to
should
talk
end
about.
with the one we all talked. The two videos we all watched
Okay.
because it's a good little topic at the end. I only have one, like I said, because my other movie I watched for minis and movies.
All right. I have one, two, three, and then the topic we're going to talk about at the end.
I have TV show.
Oh,
I'll go with mine. I'll go with one of mine first, and
sure.
it was actually very highly anticipated and highly praised, and that was a new Blade Runner.
Oh, okay. I have not seen that yet.
I haven't seen it, so I just saw it. It is on HBO right now. So if you have someone on HBO, you can get it on there. I watched it, and while I did enjoy it, it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. And the
Just said my
reason
opinion
why
about the first Blade Runner.
it was cool. There was a lot of cool updating. The characters were cool, but it was very slow paced in my opinion. I was just like waiting for stuff to happen. I'm like, okay, it happened. Another 20 some odd minutes. Okay, it happened. It just took a little bit of time to go through. Gorgeous movie, by the way. Incredibly gorgeous movie. I thought it was kind of weird because I was looking at the ratings for it, and of course they now tell us what it's going to be. Violence, brief nudity, language, etc., etc. And it said brief nudity, but there was a shit ton of nudity in this for brief nudity.
Were there briefs?
There were no briefs. There was a lot of boobs and ass.
Thank you, Father's Day. All puns are funny.
But it was a lot of. It was a really cool technology, very beautiful, well acted. It was good, but it just to me it was a little slow paced. I would give it 2 space herpes, especially if you can't stand a slow paced movie. I found myself pausing it, had to go do something and come back to it because I was busy. It didn't keep me enthralled directly on it.
Yeah, it's got to grab you sometimes.
But it was still a good movie. Wrapped up some of the stories of other things, but it was good. So, Kathy, what's your TV show?
Santa Clarita Diet.
I haven't seen the new season yet.
I was 4 episodes in. Jim and I sat and watched a few episodes the other night, and I had somehow forgotten how funny it was. It just cracks me up. It's every single time.
Yes.
And as soon as you think they're going to go one direction with this whole zombie thing, no, they're going this direction over here instead. It's unpredictable, and Jim doesn't often like TV shows. He feels like he has better things to do at this time. If we're on the couch together, he's usually sleeping while I'm watching his show. But this one he actually stays awake for. Because you don't know what's going to happen next. There's not that same old formula with it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm distracted by the chat.
Okay.
I'm afraid.
Conquer that
Like
again.
this entire episode, I've been distracted by the.
We're doing stuff now. Yeah. So, Gonzo, what was your second one?
My second one is The Space Between Us. I watched The Space Between Us, and if you don't know what it is, it's kind of a teen romance about people going to Mars and a woman having a child on Mars, and that child is stuck on Mars. That forms a romantic relationship with a teenager on Earth. It was what I fully expected. I did some little research behind it to see if these guys actually contacted, other people about the science of what happened if, a child was born on Mars, what their body would look like, the composition, that stuff, because the movie was based, if you don't know, the child is on Mars, comes to Earth, and has a lot of health problems because he doesn't have the bone density, blah, 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 blah. Which is a common, which is a thing that's
science problems.
Yeah, science problems. It was okay. Kind of far-fetched. but it is in the future, so you can't go, well, they were able to communicate from each other from Mars to Earth instantaneous. So, because right now it takes, a lot of time to do that communication, but it is in the future. So they're able to instantly communicate with each other. Okay, I got that. What I didn't think was really good is they didn't build up the romantic relationship between the two characters. They talk to each other, and when they do, they kind of talk like, hey, you're kind of cool. Yeah, you're kind of cool too. I misunderstood at my school. Yeah, I misunderstood here. That's what we got in common. But it didn't feel like there was a romantic anything between the two. So,
The chemistry wasn't there.
no, the chemistry was not there at all. And it was like really, really, really weird. Because I'll tell you right now, if a guy would have did what he did, because they met on the internet and they were friends and they came up to each other and he did what he did to this girl, he probably would have been killed. It was interesting to see the way he acted while he was on Earth because he doesn't know typical customs and, typical teenage stuff. Overall, it was a good movie. It was decent. But it just was kind of far-fetched in my opinion. So I'd give it like 2 space krakens. Or 2 space harpies. Space
You're
krakens.
crossing the streams.
Yeah, I did. I crossed the streams big time. 2 space harpies. I'd pass on it if teen romance movies aren't your thing. But it's all right.
They're not.
Yeah.
Mine is kind of the opposite of a teen romance movie. I saw The Bourne Ultimatum, which I have not seen before.
Huh.
That's the third Bourne movie. I saw the first one. I love the first one. I saw the second one. It was okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It was good. But it did not inspire me to go see a third one. But I'm sitting there, I had some time. I'm like, I'll watch the third Bourne movie. I'm sure that's not going to be wasting my time because I've watched too many shitty movies recently. I was right. It is a good, solid movie. I do question the logic of any fool who continues to send people after Jason Bourne because you're lucky he has some restraint or he'd kill all your people. All of them. Why are you so stupid? I don't understand that. It's so maybe the big problems with the plot is that the bad guys are basically just like, oh, Jason's Bourne after us, we have to take him out, and basically force him into what he has to do rather than trying to get intelligence. For an intelligence operation, you feel like they would try and get some more information on what's going on before they go all in, kill, kill, kill. But they go all in, kill, kill, kill. And I understand their butts are on the line because they're doing quasi-legal at best stuff, but it just didn't make a lot of sense. Killing a foreign reporter on their native soil with an agent in plain view of everyone is really freaking retarded. There's got to be better ways to do that, and I'm sure they would have founded one. But, it is what it is. It was still a solid movie that is minor. Maybe it takes down to 1 space herpes. Enjoyable. A good ending to the trilogy, even though it doesn't really end the series because they have the Bourne identity and then Jason Bourne afterwards. So, it is what it is. Enjoyable. Watch it. It's free on Netflix, I believe. Might be Amazon Prime. I don't really remember. I think it was Netflix. So, Gonzo, you have one more, and then we've got some joint stuff.
Yeah. I watched Atomic Blonde yesterday.
Okay, cool.
If you don't know what Atomic Blonde is, it is sort of a Bourne type thing. Spy.
Spy thriller.
Yeah, it is a spy thriller. With Charlize Theron and Jason, or not Jason, what's the guy's name?
Professor X.
Yeah, Professor X. I can't remember his name right now.
James McAvoy.
James McAvoy, there we go. And you know what? I was expecting just a piss poor spy movie. If you don't know what it is, it's based in the 80s, right before the Berlin Wall went down. And they kind of play off of that and kind of like hem and haw around it. There's definitely some really good fight scenes that remind me of Bourne stuff. It's got a good spy thriller feel to it. Uh, John Goodman's in it, and I love John Goodman. He's one of my favorite actors.
Hmm.
It's really good in spy stuff, combat, and since it's based in the '80s, there's not all this strange, weird technology going on. It's just good fun. Characters are understandable, likable. Does kind of push some of the boundaries on some things. But I'll tell you, all of the movie, while it was great, played second fiddle to the soundtrack. Because the soundtrack is nothing but 80s music. And it is great 80s music, too. Some Wham, 99 Red Balloons, you name it. The soundtrack, if you're an 80s fan in music, go listen to the soundtrack.
The
Soundtrack.
soundtrack of the Cold War.
It was really, 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 really good. Um, it was, it was, it was very fun. I caught myself singing along with the soundtrack while I'm watching the movie. Has a good plot twist, good things going on. So I highly recommend it. One space herpes if it's not your thing, but overall, for me, it was zero, and the soundtrack
I
just set it across.
I think I would like that one. I like spy thrillers anyways, so I actually made Jim watch a bunch of James Bond before we watched the Austin Powers movies so
Hmm.
that he would get the jokes.
That's important.
Guys, the poll is about to end on our next state of the game. Make sure you vote on that before we go anywhere. We'll be ending that shortly. So I guess one space herpes for it if it's not your thing, but overall it was really good.
Yeah, that's what you said. Absolutely.
So let's go
So,
to our combined thing that we talked about yesterday.
yeah, and this is sort of a YouTube thing. I spend way too much time on YouTube. Um, Honestly, if you count my YouTube time, I probably watch a million movies a week, but only in clips here or there. I'd found a thing randomly sent to my channel from a channel called High Top Films, and the first one I saw was called Civil War versus Justice League: Dawn of Character Development. And I'm like, I know what this is going to be. They're just going to rip Justice League to shreds, blah blah blah. But it seemed I'll give it a shot. Let's see, because I'll click on things and be like, this isn't my thing. Get out of here, and then just not watch anything else. And it turned out to actually be a really good video. It was all about sort of how there are similar themes in Justice League and Civil War about the young hero being added to the group and all that, and just shows, if you will, what DC did wrong and what Marvel did right. And it's not from a position of they hate DC. As a matter of fact, he mentions he is a huge DC fan. He wants DC movies to be great, but he's also somewhat of a student of film and an amateur filmmaker himself. So he wants to, he's basically looking at this stuff. It helps him gain a knowledge of filmmaking. And it's just a very good video. It sort of said some things that I felt and was thinking, but didn't have the words for. More so the second one, which is called Man of Steel versus Winter Soldier, Changing an Icon, which really, really sort of hit the nail on the head for those movies. I've checked those other stuff. The only other one he really has that was super interesting was why Thor is the best Thor movie. And he goes on like, yeah, I like Ragnarok and all. And he said he thought it was, exciting, fun, but forgettable. And he's not really wrong. I like Ragnarok, but it has problems we forgive because it's fun. Sort of like Guardians of the Galaxy. It has problems, we forgive them because it's super fun and enjoyable to watch.
Correct.
And he just goes to these three in particular on his channel. These other things like why I hate this movie, where he's not just bashing, he's showing actual film reasons why he dislikes them, and a lot of little stuff. But it's very good and interesting to look at, to listen to. And it's good to look at that stuff on YouTube. Try and find the people who are getting the the fair and balanced, if you will, the actual fair and balanced, not the Fox News fair and balanced, the actual fair and balanced, in depth on movies and all, so we can listen to them, share them, and everyone else can see them. So it's not just, for example, why The Force Awakens was a cinematic catastrophe on every level. Or not The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi. Well, it's probably both, actually. And get those out, get people views. That way it's not just the negative bullshit again and again and again. Kathy, what did you think of them?
I liked that, I liked that he compared the characters to Marvel with the DC and described why, why the Marvel characters are more memorable and likable and engaging than the DC characters. I would have never been able to put my finger on it, what it is that I like so much more about the characters in Marvel versus DC, except for maybe Wonder Woman. I felt like she was a little more interesting than some of the other ones, but they spent more time developing her with her own movie. I mean, that always helps.
Yes.
But that they asked the question, why are these characters doing what they're doing with the powers that they're given? They're not just describing them as, oh, this guy, he's got powers. Now let's move on to the next guy.
Yeah, that was the Flash versus Spider-Man thing, where in a handful of minutes they give Spider-Man's everything. Like, without it being overly exposition-y, they're like, why Spider-Man's doing what he does. You don't know why Flash is doing what he does. And then they address it later in the film, and honestly, I feel like Flash is one of the stronger parts of Justice League, but it is a great side-by-side scene comparison of the differences. And doubly so in Man of Steel vs. Winter Soldier, where they sort of go, the difference is they're changing Superman to fit in a post-Nolan verse, if you will, sort of DC universe. While on the other hand, the whole Winter Soldier is about how Cap doesn't change. So, Gonzo, what do you think?
I gotta say one thing. These guys make a really good video to start off with.
Yes.
Very good professional type stuff. The guy's voice is incredible on this too.
And he's a young guy too. He's really young.
Yeah. He brought up some really, really good points because I'm watching it and he hit the nail on the head. You don't give a crap about the DC heroes at all. You feel like no sympathy for them. You don't know who they are. You don't know what motivates them. I mean, it just, on the Justice League versus, Marvel, you don't care because you're like, oh, well, that's a superhero. And which I think is which kind of upsets me is the Flash could have been the story of Spider-Man that they give on the thing. There's a reason why Spider-Man acts like Spider-Man and the reason why Spider-Man does stuff. Unlike in the DC, you don't give a crap or even know why Flash does it.
You don't know why Flash does stuff. And he does have a good little thing in there. It's probably the best arc, if you will, of that particular movie.
Yeah. So I mean, it really he hit it right on the head. You don't care about the DC heroes because you don't know who they are before they do what they do. I mean, we all know the story of Batman and why he does it, but there's got to be some of their motivation. Something's got to come deeper in. That's the reason why you feel for Peter Parker in the Spider-Man movies, because of that one. And the scene he shows hits it perfectly about the reason why he does it and the reason why things are happening and blah, 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 blah. It really, really is amazing the way the guys do this. The one with Superman versus Captain America. I watched that, and I did like the Superman movie when it came out. But looking back on it and taking what he's saying, I can understand where he's going from. And I'm like, yeah, he is right. You understand why Superman's Superman. He is the Boy Scout of superheroes. He's the one person you want to look at to all the abilities.
And they got more back to it. Like there's this thing he does in the video where he's like, all right, right now, just go in the chat and type in what Superman's weakness is.
Yes.
And it's not kryptonite.
No.
And I forget what he says exactly is, but basically the whole idea is humanity is his weakness.
Yeah, he cares about everybody and everything. Yeah. And in the new Superman movie, he didn't care about.
No, he was too busy fighting the villain. And I'm not gonna throw Zack Snyder under the bus for this because he's just a director. There's a screenwriter and script doctors behind him doing other stuff. They hired Zack Snyder because he makes pretty scenes.
Correct.
And you can't blame it all on him. You got to blame higher ups. And honestly, at the end of the day, you got to blame Warner Brothers and all that for just dropping the ball on the whole thing.
And you know what's funny is,
do you feel like as they're writing these things, they're changing the personalities of these superheroes that we've grown up with so much for these movies because they want it to be the grimdark, but they're assuming that their motivations haven't changed from the comic books?
Exactly that. They're changing them to be, if you will, grimdark without updating their actual backgrounds properly enough to make that believable or fit. I mean, it's unfortunate because Superman, you could have made a story where Superman is, and I didn't like Man of Steel like Gonzo did. I didn't hate it, but I felt hope afterwards. I felt like, okay, this is Superman's origin. He's seen all these deaths. It's going to affect him deeply, and in the next movie, it's going to change who he is.
Yeah.
This is going to be his watershed moment.
well, I mean, okay, if you look at, because I make a really good point through this thing that he's talking about, Superman being thrown through buildings and destroying things like crazy. Superman wouldn't have done that.
Nope.
He would have been like, okay, you threw me through a building. I'm going to rescue the people in the building first before I deal with you, because that's what needs to be done.
And that's why Superman has less powerful villains, because when you give him an as powerful villain, he can't do that, and thus you take Superman away from being Superman. He can't hold back against them. He can't be like, I'm going to rescue these people, and the reason I can't just beat you is because I'm rescuing all the people while I'm trying to fight you.
Correct.
That's where his depth comes in, and really in that movie is where it comes in.
Now,
Go ahead.
I want to say there was a part in this where he was talking about where he breaks Zod's neck. I don't think that, and I don't want to say this, that it broke the character of Superman, but I can understand why Superman did it, because he would rather have someone that's doing all these evil things to die than these humans that have no consequences, that have no shouldn't be involved in this to begin with. And
I agree with that part. I just felt like it came out of nowhere after.
Yes.
I mean, look at the devastation that's happened. You care now?
Yes.
Now you care when it's personal? And again, it still gave me hope for a second movie where, like, if they can really go into this, there can be, like, in my mind, the second Superman movie was going to be fucking awesome, great Superman character study where he actually evolves and comes out of it as Super Superman, the one we know and love. But instead they did Batman versus Superman. Don't know why we're watching this.
Yeah, it kind of just shifted off. I can understand Superman breaking Zod's neck because he's trying to save the humans.
Absolutely.
Because I understand that. But I don't understand, I'm going to destroy this entire city being punched and throw people through things and blah, 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 and then come up and go, now I want to be Superman?
Yeah, I don't challenge that action as being out of character. I challenge everything that happened before that.
Correct.
And, it's not necessarily director's fault. It's a lot of fault to be shared around. Script writers should have done it on the ball. And, Zack Snyder, he plays that clip about Zack Snyder saying, if you think I've changed Superman, you don't know the lore properly. And Zack Snyder should have just backed off that, because the people who were writing the story didn't know the lore properly. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
We're hoping maybe Aquaman. I heard there's a teaser trailer I haven't seen yet.
Yes, I've seen
Hopefully
that.
that helps them too, because rumor has it they're going to go Flashpoint and they're going to reboot the whole thing, except Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman works.
Yes.
Because Wonder Woman, they didn't change Wonder Woman. They're like, Wonder Woman is the Wonder Woman we know from the thing. She's got to actually have a story.
Hannah makes a good point. Superman is not a redemption story. Superman is a protection story. He's supposed to be the quintessential Boy Scout, and that's the way it is. He's supposed to care about everybody.
He is the epitome of what superheroes do. Superheroes don't change the world. Superheroes maintain the status quo so that we can change the warrior. We can look up to him and go like, Superman is great. I want to be like him, doing the right thing. But he's to inspire everyone to do the right thing, not to do the right thing for them, because that leads to tyranny.
Correct. So if you haven't seen it, guys, go to
High Top Movie, High Top Films?
High Top Films, and check out their 2 videos on that. It's really good.
And the Thor one's pretty good. Why Thor is the
Yeah.
best Thor. He really puts a lot of thought into those. He's got some other ones there. Keep in mind the rest I haven't necessarily verified for how good they are, but amusing. Those 3 are definitely super good.
Also, I wanted to say thanks that someone came into our chat. Hannah Hannaby. She is another streamer that I've started watching. She's a very, very funny lady. I did do a shout out for her. Make sure you go check her out. She has some really cool stuff. She does a lot of cool giveaways too. She's definitely a better painter than me. So you can have fun watching her all the time. Also, guys, just a friendly reminder. Check out our Patreon. If you're not one of the members, Kathy is now doing painting lessons. If you're a $5 and up subscriber. Also, we should have some more things. We have a new Sewer Bear coming out. I'm going to load that up tomorrow. So everybody can have that to listen to on the weekend. Also, you can check iTunes and all that, all your favorite RSS feeds for the podcast. And this episode will be loaded up later tonight in case you missed the beginning.
I'm going to try to have the next Patreon minis and movies out on time. But as I'm moving this weekend and it requires watching a movie, time might be at a premium. I might be a little later, but we'll see.
Yeah. Also, I will be doing, I'm going to try to get it out before I go to my convention this Thursday. Get out the Dresden's File accelerated reviewed for us and get that out so y'all can see that and hear it. Also, don't forget there is no official podcast next Sunday. It is going to be Kathy painting. She'll be doing the normal.
Yep, I will be painting. So the camera I'm using is a little.
Little what?
It's a little suspect, but it looks like you can see the guy. This is the guy I'm working on. In my last what was it, Thursday now?
Yes, Thursday.
Thursday morning one. I established my darks. So tomorrow morning, 10 to noon, I will be establishing my lightest lights, and then we start adding color.
Yay!
So I have octopus reference pictures to use.
May have a little problem with our Twitch stream. Before we get out of here, guys, we want to make sure we thank Tectonic Craft Studios for supporting us. We also want to thank Broken Egg Games for support and Mechanica Studios. And also, Xander asked if I'm going to be going to M3. Yes, that's where I'm going this week. I will be at M3, and we'll be going there. Trying to get another qualifying position at the Invitational, if not getting some more points. I think this is my event to get my Invitational entry. So if you're actually going to be at M3, make sure you look me up. If you don't know what M3 is, it is a convention at St. Louis this weekend. They have a lot of good games. Looks like we're going to have a little bit of problem with Twitch. Looks like it's going to crash. So, other than that, guys, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. I may have to shut this down without our music at the end because it's gone.
Hopefully you'll see some of you tomorrow morning if you are not at work. Come join me in the chat while I paint.
So, with that said, guys, we're going to be out of here. Like I said, XSplit crashed, so we are just streaming normally. So, there will be no outro.
Or abnormally.
Or abnormally. So there's no outro music. So John, you want to give us the outro music?
Definitely not.
Guys, make sure you take care of each other. Look after each other. If you haven't heard anybody from a while, make sure you go and talk to them, find out what's going on. Other than that, guys, take care.
Good night.
I'm John.
Oh, yeah.